Ford. I'll welcome you again, and I appreciate you joining us, whether you joined us the last time we presented the class or you're just joining us now. We appreciate and love having you here, and that you're willing to type in questions and keep us moving along in the direction that is most useful to you. So I'm Cynthia Coulon, and I'm the product manager for Studio, Heritage Maker Studio. And of course, we have the talented Roxanne Buchholz with us, and she's our design team or our creative team manager, and does so much for us in the way of templates and articles and teaching us. And we've got Brooke Mayer, who's behind the scenes, but she certainly deserves all the credit for answering our questions in our chats and keeping our template gallery on looking great. And she does so many things, and you'll need to also check out her templates in the gallery because they are wonderful. So we've got us three. We're here at the Studio 101 team, and we're just going to start by, well, giving away points. Just because it's a rerun doesn't mean I can't give away points. So I'm going to select someone from our wonderful attendee list. We've got Robin Button. Robin, we're so glad you joined us, and so we'll have Brooke take a note to drop 20 publishing points into your account as soon as she gets to work tomorrow. So let's go ahead and turn the time over to Roxanne, who's going to walk us through this wonderful Getting Started class.
Great. Thanks, Cynthia. Glad to be on with you guys again tonight for an encore performance. We are going to go ahead and work on customizing products from scratch tonight. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go into Studio now. And I want to go ahead, too. If you missed part one, it's okay. We're going to start from scratch tonight, whereas part one, we worked from using a template. If you ever want to go back to one of our archive classes, what you need to do is go to the Heritage Makers website, and if you scroll down here to the bottom, you'll see this Get Help section down here. There's a Tutorials and Classes section. So go ahead and click on that. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see this Overviews and Tutorials section. There's lots of great studio demos. It gives a description about the template gallery, getting started, add to swap photos. These are great tutorials. And then down here in this online classes section are all the upcoming classes. Here's tonight's class, and then our upcoming next two classes are here. You can go ahead and register from here. And then on this section, recent classes are all the archive classes. So we did one on Mother's Day last week, and we are going to be loading that hopefully tomorrow, that recording. The couple weeks before, we did one about wedding bliss, and this talked about making canvases. So if, say, you're not interested in weddings, don't let the class title, move you away from doing that class. We just show some inspiration about certain things. This one was about wedding, but then we go into using the different studio features. We talked about making canvases and how to wrap that all the way around the edges and stretching it. So there's lots of great tips and tricks in the class, no matter what the theme is. All right, so last time we talked about working from templates, which of course are in our template gallery. So lots of great things. So go back to part one, and you can see how we drop to swap different things in and out of templates so that you can customize it for yourself. But tonight we're going to be working from scratch. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to the main. I'm going to go to my studio. And I want to go to start a new project. So we're going to start from the very beginning. So you can start from a template project here, or you can start from a blank project here. You can either click on the Start with a Blank Project, or I just usually click on the little blank book, and it brings up all the projects that we have available. So you have a selection of storybooks, greeting cards, home decor, lots of different options. So if you want to see our different storybooks, you just click on the storybooks, and it'll show you all the different sizes that we have available. They give you the page count, the prices. You can click on View Details, and it will show you some more information, how it's hardbound, what type of paper we printed on, printing time, and any upgrades and options that may be available. So let's go back. And I think tonight we're going to start with a scrap page, a 12 by 12 scrap page. And those are here under our digital scrapbooking product selection. So we've got several different options, different sizes, 8 by 8s, 8.5 by 11s. We've got 12 by 12 scrap pages, which are probably our most popular. And we also have a double-sided option as well. So tonight, let's just go ahead and work on our 12 by 12 scrap page option. And we'll just call it Studio 101 for tonight. And then we click here to begin. Okay, so it's just loading now. All right, so then I begin to think, what project am I going to work on? I'm probably, since Mother's Day is coming up, let's go ahead and work on a Mother's Day project. So as you become familiar with all the things in Studio, you'll notice here that there's these important little text boxes here, and they tell you tips and tricks and little clues on how to use each of our products. As you'll note, this little purple dash line here, let me go in bigger so you can see. You'll see this on all of our projects, and it shows you that it states that things within this area will be safe and not subject to maybe being trimmed off a little bit. So anything that's, background papers should bleed off, of course, but all your text and important information should be well within the safe zone area. If you notice too, I'm going back up here. This little button here brings it back to the viewer size. And these are your zooming tools, so you can scale up or scale down as you want to see it. So let's see. And become familiar with all these little important details on the design guide. But after you learn them, you can go ahead and, if you want to kind of declutter your pasteboard area, go ahead up here to the upper right and click on this design guide, and it will actually hide those little guides if you don't want to see them. Or you can click back on, and it will turn them on again. All right, so you've got your toolbox here, and you've got a toolbar up here as well. We'll go through all these different things. And then down here, you've got different tabs. You'll find your photos here, text boxes, the art, the projects you're working on, quotes, and my favorites. To get those tabs visible, you'll see this three-line thing right here. You can click on it, and it pulls it open. So you can click on your different tabs. Or you can click, if you hold the click down, you can bring it up bigger or bring it down lower, depending on how much of that you want to see. So that's the little trick, is that little three-line button there to hide it. And the toolbox works the same way as well. A lot of times the toolbox covers information here on the left that I'm trying to see. Your toolbox can be moved to either side. And then you can also minimize it too with this little single line here. If you click it, it hides the toolbox. You can move it around, and then just click it to reopen it again. If you happen to X out of the toolbox and it disappears and you can't find where it is, up here under View, Toolbox, you click it and it just comes back again. So is everybody following that? Good? Any questions about any of that?
Yes, but while you're there, go ahead and show how it was cool how you discovered your toolbox. That's a question we get a lot, and we also sometimes have people who can't find their Content Explorer. It's like off the screen or it's just too low, and in that same View menu, you can ask your Content Explorer to pop up. So that's a handy thing to try in case.
Oh, I see. Okay. Actually, I've never
so you can open
before.
and shut it from there in case you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great trick. Huh. Learn something new every day. Great. So there it is. And also, if you ever get stuck or have questions, you're not sure what to do, over here, this little Need Help button here, you just click on that. And during regular office hours, someone will be available to chat with you. Or you can go ahead and search our knowledge base. You can type in import page feature and do a search. And it'll give you a written tutorial about how to do whatever you're trying to do. So use that. Don't be afraid to ask questions. That's how we learn, is by asking questions. Like anything else, there's a learning curve to using Studio, but once you learn all the things, there's so many possibilities with Studio you can explore and, really expand your knowledge on Studio once you become familiar with some of the basics. All right, so if I'm going to make a page to design, let's see, I will have in our part 1 class, we talked about how to upload photos. So over here, we will have had an album already set up. So it's in our Studio U. So I have uploaded these photos already. But I've got 3 photos here that I like, but I know I left one more photo on my desktop. So not only can you load photos into your photo album section back in the main section, but if you're already in a project, you don't have to get out and go back to your photo section. You can actually add photos from this section here. So we're going to go ahead and add a photo. And I just have it on my desktop. So I'm just going to grab actually these 2 photos here. And I'm going to say open. And that's going to actually load them. I can see it coming across the screen right now as they're loading. So these are the Mother's Day photos that I'm going to want to work with to make a scrap page tonight. So as those are loading, I can actually click on a photo. I'm just going to click and drag it up and drop it onto my page so I can kind of see the coloring, so I know what kind of art collection I want to work with and what colors I'm going to need. Let's see, I'm going to use this photo too. I usually just pull a whole bunch of different things up onto my pasteboard to see what I want to work with. I also loaded this one too because I'm going to show you something. In our studio, when we use photos, embellishments, or papers, it'll have this green border around it, which means that even though you might be seeing the picture might look a little grainy and you're worried it might be a low res photo, as long as it's got the green, what we call the rubber band around it is green, that means it's optimal printing status. It'll be fine once it's printed. If you happen to have maybe grabbed a photo from Facebook or somewhere else, you'll notice it drops in a little smaller, and as you grab the corner here to drag, it will start turning color. See how it turns from green to yellow to orange to red? Red is not recommended at all for printing on our paper products. You can get away with printing red on our canvas products because of the texture of the canvas, but we do not recommend printing with an orange to red border on any of our printed paper products. So just make sure that whatever photos or papers or embellishments you use, keep it within the green rubber band area, and that will be great. All right, so let's go, and I'm going to grab a background paper now. So let's go to our art collections. I tend to like my projects a little simple in the back. I don't like a lot of patterns going on. I like using pattern papers and touches. So I'm going to go ahead to my art collection. I think I just want a craft paper in the background. So I'm going to just type in craft paper. And here's a whole bunch of different craft papers to select from. Or you could probably type in cardboard or brown paper. I'm going to go ahead and drag my paper up. So as you'll notice, it put a square piece of paper here, but it does not fit the full surface of the 12 by 12 sheet. So what you need to do is you need to drag your paper, like click, hold down, and drag up into the corner here. And I make sure that I drag well beyond this gray area here, just to be safe. Let's go in bigger and just zooming in closer. These are your crop marks here. So the paper should be cropped right on this edge. So anything in this gray area should be cropped off, but it's not, the trimming is not a precise exact measurement. So we need to give the printer a little bit of leeway in trimming in case they're slightly off. So you can put it right on the edge here to see, but it's hard to see. You can't see your paper behind this gray area. So I just go ahead and make sure I pull it all the way off so I can see it's extended beyond those crop marks and the bleed area. So let's go back to our regular page size again. So once we've got it up here and clearly off the edge of the paper, I'm going to select it. I'm going to go down to this bottom corner, and you see this little diagonal arrow tool. I'm going to click, hold down, and I'm just going to drag it so it's big and clearly covers the entire surface of the paper. So now, if you notice, the paper has gone in front of my photos. My photos are back here. So how do I get them back to the front? In the toolbox here, let's open it back up. If I select my paper or an object, you'll see these little tools down here at the bottom. And if you just toggle over them, it'll say what they are. Send to back, send backwards, bring forward, or bring to front. So basically, I want this paper in the very background. So I'm going to click on this one, send to back, which sends it all the way to the back. If I would have selected send backwards, it does it one layer at a time. So I know I want it to back, so I'm going to go ahead and send it backwards. So is everybody getting all of this? Any questions?
Let's see. I don't think there are any questions so far. You're doing great. We're
okay.
Getting it. So.
Great. So now, if perchance I got this paper in the nice location that I want it, I'm going to go ahead and lock it. So you can lock down here with this little tool down here, unlock with the green border, and then lock it. It turns it the solid red. And I'm trying to slide it, and I can't slide it anywhere, so that locks something into position. You also have the option of going here to edit, lock, and then it also gives you options to lock all on page, unlock all on page, and so forth. So if I decided that I don't want this paper, instead of unlocking and deleting the paper and starting all over again with putting it up in the corner and dragging it down, I'm going to go ahead and lock it. Let's go back to the art collections, and let's just try on different papers for size. It's just kind of like it's not putting a paper on top of the other, it's actually replacing it. So let's try this one instead. In the lock position, you will get this drop art here to swap. You need to drop whatever you've pulled up from the bottom art collections right into this rectangle red square, and it will drop it and swap it. So I can close that up again, and you can see it's kept the exact same position of the paper, but swapped it out. So we can do that 100 times if you want to. So we just keep dragging. It's like, oh, no, I don't want the blue. Let's try something else. Let's try the brown. Nope. I think I like it where it was originally. So there, I've got that now. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to go through my art collections now. I'm going to go back home, and I'm going to look at all these different art collections. You can click on any art collection, and it'll bring you up a bigger view of it. And if you want to see what's all in the collection, you say open this collection, and it'll show you all the pieces here. And then you can just scroll across left and right to see all the different pieces that are available. It starts with the embellishments at top, and if you scroll down here on the right-hand side, you can see the paper. Scroll down further, and then you'll have word art options as well. So let's go back. I don't see anything in there because it's a graduation collection, but I want to find kind of a Mother's Day fun collection. So I kind of like the coloring on this one here. Let's see. Yep. Let's see what I've got. So let me pull up maybe a few papers that I like. I'm going to just pull some up to see what they are. That one and that one. So let's try some layering of different elements. So let's, oh, yes, go ahead.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
While you're bringing up papers, it's reminding me of a question that's out there, we get this a lot. If you want to change the color of the paper, can we do that, or do I just need to switch it out for a different paper?
It's a great question, and this is what we call maybe a more advanced technique, but you can actually colorize a paper too if you want to. If this brown was maybe too light, if you go into your effects tab, you've got all these fun tools over here: blur, transparency, border, fill color. If you want it lighter, sometimes you can add some transparency to it. You could add, let's say we're going to go lighter, so we're going to add a white. So you've got 100% white on that paper right now, but if you back off the fill color it'll start showing you that texture behind it. So you just kind of play and get the amount of color that you want. So now it's back to 0. But if I wanted to turn this craft paper maybe blue, let's see if that works. A lot of times it's just a little playing and tweaking and seeing what you got. So let's, I'm going to grab, instead of grabbing from the colors here in this palette, I'm going to take my eyedropper tool and I'm going to pull from this pretty blue here in the paper. So wherever your eyedropper tool goes, like we can grab a yellow or a blue, let's grab a blue, and then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to back off the color so that we could have maybe a pale blue paper instead. I try to find patterns that I want to work with, and then I colorize just a touch as needed. So it's easier if you can find something in the relative shade instead of going something red. It might be hard to make it yellow or something. So try to find, if you're going to do a yellow paper, try to find a beige paper or something lighter that you can add a yellow shade to. So kind of think logically about those type of things. So now I'm going to kind of layer some papers here. I'm just going to move these off to the side. And I'm going to work on a spread. So I want something that runs across the page. So I like to use my rulers because I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I like things lined up. So if you go up here under View, you can turn on Rulers. So say Show Ruler. So it gives you this great grid, and every square on the grid is a 1/4 inch increment. So I like to get my things lined up fairly precisely. So I always like to work on a 1/4 inch increments so I know exactly where I am. So I'm going to go ahead and take this paper. I'm going to pull it large again because I want it to expand across the entire sheet of the paper. I'm going to just keep dragging it down. Sometimes you have to use your little scroll bar over here. I'm going to drag the corner so it's all the way out on both sides of the paper. Then I only want it to be like a center strip. So I'm going to go up here to my toolbox. Under Tools, we're going to use our Crop tool. So it'll say Crop, which gives you this crop square, which you can move around. So I'm going to pull it over, and then I'm going to bring it up and just drag it to exactly where I want it. And when I've got the piece of paper cropped the way I want, I say Done. And then it gives you a nice center piece of paper here. I actually want it a little bit longer down, so I'm going to adjust it, which allows me to open this back up and bring the crop a little bit more open and say Done. So great, so then we've got our little strip of paper across here. You can also lock the paper into place like we did this one back here. If this pattern is too small and you want a larger wave pattern, go ahead and where we found this crop, when it's unlocked, we have the Crop tool. When you lock the paper, you have the Adjust tool. So you want to adjust it. And then we can scale up our paper. See how the waves are getting larger? And say Done if we want it larger. Or we could do an adjust and we can actually rotate a paper 90 degrees and remove it into correct positioning and say Done. So you can take any pattern, rotate it, resize it. It's wonderful. So let's go ahead and just put that back to 0. So I like them wavy horizontal. I'm going to scale it back down again and say Done. So I think that looks great. So let's go ahead and layer another piece of paper. So we're going to do the same thing again. There's actually another trick you can do. Instead of pulling this all the way open and cropping, you can do things like this. We can get it so I've got a 1/4 inch square up here and a 1/4 inch square down here. If you click on the Control button, actually if I hit the Shift button, hold down the Shift button, and then we can drag it wide like this by grabbing the side, which does actually change the proportions. It looks fine on this diagonal stripe, but it was a faster way than having to do the crop and move it all over the place. So what you can do too, if you want the original diagonals, go down here to my Projects tab. it'll show you the current project you're working on, which we have one page in it currently. And then it'll also give you access to your unfinished projects and your completed projects that you can open up if you use something on this other project before and you wanted to reuse it without having to go through all the art collections. You can open up an old project and find all the old pieces to reuse them that way. So let's go back to the current project. Let's delete the bird. So down here, you'll see all the pieces that I've got on my paste board so far. So all I'm going to do with the diagonal paper selected, I'm going to drag up and re-drop in my diagonal paper, which puts it back into the correct proportions again. So we'll do the same thing one more time. I'm going to layer. I love layering papers, so I'm going to hold the Shift key down again and drag the corner out. So it disproportionately stretches the paper, whereas on the circle paper, you can see it really stretched those circles, which doesn't look pretty. So we're going to go ahead and lock it again, My Projects, and we're just going to drag up this yellow paper right into the drag and drop spot. So it repositions and correctly sizes the circles once again. So let's go ahead and turn off our rulers. So we've got our paper layers. A lot of times in traditional scrapbooking, because the items paper on paper or stickers on top of paper add that dimensionality, which is a great looking technique. With digital, we don't have that luxury of the layers of paper building these natural shadows. So what we like to do is in your toolbox, you actually have the option to drop shadows as well. So you click on whatever paper embellishment photo that you want to add a drop shadow on and just click drop shadow. So you can see it's adding on drop shadows. So we've got 3 great drop shadows here. Our toolbox is already set to a great default number, so we most frequently use this and recommend that you use this too. But occasionally on a bigger canvas or a bigger size print or poster, you'll want to increase the distance a bit. So here, I'll show you how that works. So let's go here. You can just scale the distance and see how it's increasing the distance of the shadow. We like to keep our shadows realistic, so try to keep them a little simpler, and down to 2 is kind of nice. The intensity also changes if you want a softer shadow or a heavier shadow, if you want a solid line. So get in there and play with all these different features. It's so fun to see the different effects that it does create. All right,
okay.
So question?
Let's ask a question again. People were loving that interesting technique of skewing the paper or pulling away changing the aspect ratio and then dropping the paper back in, and suddenly it's all
back to normal.
Correct. Right. Back
right.
to normal. Can you? Okay. So you could show us that one more time, and then we'll know for sure how to do it.
Yeah, actually, I can show you with the photos too. It kind of works the same way. Let's see if this works. I'm going to go back to my art collections. I want a photo and I want a frame. So let's see what fun frames there are in here. So let's use this one here. So I'm going to pull up this fun frame. And a lot of times it's hard to see these little details. So I go ahead and right away I put a drop shadow on them just so they're easier for me to find. So here's my little frame. I'm going to go ahead and take this picture here. Oh, and see how it's behind all my layers now. So how do you find it again? If it's back behind, go ahead and bring it all the way to the front, which was this button here. And then we can click on the frame and bring that back to the front. So now the frame's in front. So what we're going to do is just like we did with the papers, you can either take this photo and we're going to tuck it right behind the frame so you don't see the edges, sticking out. You don't want it like that. Can you see how it's hanging out a little bit? You want to make sure it's tucked right behind. We can either drag this really big and then do the crop, which you just pull this up here, and then we can do it that way. Done. So we've got it all cropped and nice there. Or let's remove the crop, get it positioned, and once again, if I hit the Shift key, I can hold it down and just drag this in so you can see it. And then I'm going to lock it into place, go back to my projects, and there's that photo. I'm just going to drag it and drop it in, and it's back to its normal state again. And as you can see, this one's a little off to the left, and I don't like that positioning, so I'm going to adjust it while it's in the locked position. Gives me the adjust as opposed to the crop, and I'm just going to click and hold it down and just drag it into the position that I want. I'll scale it up a little bit, drag it down, and say done. So that's another way to do it. It was the same thing. Sometimes it's faster to skew the photo or the paper first and then redrop it in than having to stretch the paper super big, crop it, and reposition it. So I use both techniques. It just depends on what I'm working with.
How in the world did you discover that? Because it does not make any logical sense that it should work. I mean, it's cool that it does, and now we all know this trick too, but what? How did you you're like, I'm going to just skew something, and I wonder.
It's just, well, I've been doing this for 6 years now, so it's just, I play in studio every day. I mean, I'm blessed to be in here every day working, and so it's just, a lot of times it's happy accidents. I mean, just play with things. If you don't know what one of the tools does, click on something and try it. It's not going to hurt anything. You can always hit the edit undo tool, the Control Z, and it'll bring you back to where you were.
So you're saying that in all your playing around, the computer has never started smoking or
no.
flickering. It's never yelled at you or given you a gong.
Yeah, you're not going to hurt anything. Nope.
Right. So get in there and try it. And let's see, if someone can out-trick Roxanne, they're going to win a really big prize because she has more tricks up her sleeve than anyone. So
yeah, well,
I challenge you.
I learned that Concept Explorer tonight, so you saw me learn something new. Okay, so now if you've got this photo, but this is not the correct positioning that I want, if I click on the frame, I move the frame, but it's not moving the photo too. So what you want to do is you want to click on the frame, hold down the Shift key, and click on the photo, and it will have grabbed both elements. And when I grab both elements, it locked it. So you'll need to unlock it to move it. So now I can slide both pieces together. And as both of them are grabbed together, I can, just like I would with a single piece, I can grab the corner and I can scale it down, both pieces together, and they scale together. So now, if I wanted to do a second photo, I can grab both of those pieces, click on the frame, hold down the Shift, click on the photo. I can do an edit, copy, edit, paste. So it's given me a duplicate of what I just created. And I'm going to want to put this one on an angle to draw some attention to it. So what you do is when you've got both pieces selected, you get this little, I'm not sure what the exact term is of it, but it's this little handle. And I see this little arrow, this curved arrow. It allows me to rotate it around. So I grab it and rotate it the way I want to. The other way here is in your Toolbox effects, you also have this rotation. So you can actually rotate it in here as well. So either way is fine. And I want this photo to tuck behind this one here. So I'm just going to hit, instead of all the way to the back, because I know send to back puts it all the way in the back, I want to do the second button here, which is send backwards. And I just click, and you can see it's going behind the frame. One more should bring it back. That's exactly where I want it. This one's a little out of place, so I'm going to grab both pieces again and slide it over. So now I've got duplicate photos. So how do I get this photo over here back into here? Well, I can either delete that one and drag this one over and do the same process of how I did before. We can click on the frame, and you can see that it's rotated over here -9. degrees. So you can click on this photo and go ahead and type in -9, which will rotate it on the exact same angle. You don't want to try to manually do it because it might be off slightly. So go ahead and just type in the right dimension. So we can delete this one out and redo this one just how we did this. Or now that we've duplicated this, we can go ahead and lock it. We can go back down to my projects, find this photo down here again, and just drag it up and drop it because you've already got it correctly sized and positioned. So there's no need to reposition, recrop another photo. So that's all I did. You're just going to duplicate it, lock it, and then drag the photo back up and insert. Everybody got that?
Okay, that was great. Yeah, and we do have a question though. How did you move? I think you just need to go over this one more time. How did you move the frame and photo together? And I mean, I think a part of what's combined with that question, because we also get this question a lot, is can I ever group two or more things together and lock them so that they're always grouped together?
Right, and that's probably a feature we'll be working on, but currently we do not have, you can't lock together groups and move them, but we have a couple ways you can kind of work that system. You can click on the frame, hold down the Shift key, and click on the photo. Let's grab this with it too. So I'm still holding down the Shift key. Click on this frame and click on this photo. So now I've got all four kind of grouped together. And I'm going to unlock it. And now I can move the group around. So it's just holding that Shift key together. That's one way.
Okay, so just to be, oh, sorry, I was going to just clarify. As a group, so when you have multiple objects as a group, you can do things like move them around together. You can resize them at the same time. You can delete them as a group. You can copy and paste them as a group. You can do all kinds of things as a group.
Yes. You just have to select them by holding individually by holding down that Shift key. Or the second way to do it is, let's say I just want to grab these three papers maybe to take over to another page. You can actually, if you click out here somewhere in the outside pasteboard area, click, hold down, and I'm going to drag this kind of blue grouping around over different papers to make sure I've got these three papers selected. Since I kind of move my cursor over these three papers, it also grabbed the background paper as well. So if you hold the Shift key down and click on the paper that you don't want, it deselects that paper. So now I've just got these three papers selected. And then I can do a copy, which the shortcut is Control-C, Control-V as in Victor, for a paste. Did that work? No. Let's see. Edit, copy, edit, paste. There. So now I've got the three papers, and I could go to another page and paste that there. So let's delete. I can do that same thing too if I'm trying to grab these photos, but since they're over all these papers, you're going to actually end up selecting the papers as well. But once again, if you hold the Shift key down, you can click on each of the papers to deselect, and then I've just got this group left. And then I can do up here you can do a copy and a paste as well that way and move it as a group. So there's always more than one way to do something. So if it doesn't work one way, try it a different way. You can always ask us questions on our Facebook page as well. We're happy to answer any questions there too. All right.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Yep.
Thank you. Let's do one more thing. Now we're getting people thinking. So when you were figuring out that or showing us probably the easiest way to drop that new little photo into the other one that you had already copied, the question is, do I have to, like, you had the photo sitting there up on your workspace, why couldn't you just swap it in from there? And maybe the question isn't why couldn't you, but could you? Do you always have to pull things from below?
Yeah, when it's locked, You have to drag it from below, because if you select this one, this is the one you want to replace. But the minute you go click on this paper, you've now selected this photo and it's deselected this one. So the only way is to go down here. So you have that selected. And if you go down to your projects or the art collections, then you're able to have the one photo selected and another one selected to drag and drop in here. Sometimes there's another trick too. If you're working with the background paper and say I wanted to switch that out now to just a blue paper, let me type in blue paper. Let's see here. If it's searching for blue paper, lots of blue papers. If perchance I'm dragging up this blue paper and I am not seeing this drop art here to swap button for some reason, it either means that it's unlocked, so now it's in the unlocked position. I'm trying to drag it up and it's not giving me that button. But if it's selected, if you hold down the control key and drop it anywhere on that paper, it will swap it out for you. So that's your little shortcut. If you don't have it locked, let's Control Z, undo. It's unlocked. If you don't want to have to go lock it and drag it up and drop it right in there, go ahead, unlock, hold down the control button, but you have to make sure you're right over the paper that you want to swap. Sometimes if you hold the paper over something else, it drops it on the wrong paper. So make sure you drop it right onto the paper that you want to swap. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make sense. So that's good. And this is an interesting question. I love how bright you guys all are, and you really think as you're observing this class. So now you just erased, or you just deleted that photo, the copy of the little girl photo, and it was sitting there straight up and down while the other one is rotated. And so the question is, why is it straight if you already rotated it 9 degrees? So every time you pull up a photo from your photos or your projects, it's like you have a bunch of copies printed of that same photo. And so yeah, the one you went ahead and moved is rotated, but all the other ones you're going to drag up are as though you're pulling more photos out of your shoebox and setting them down again. It's only when you swap out a photo that it takes on the attributes of the one you're swapping into. So for example, if that photo is rotated, the photo you swap into it is rotated. If that photo is black and white with a filter, it will be black and white. And so I hope that explains.
Right. So this one, I just turned on the black and white filter, which is under your effects tab here in the toolbox. You've got none, which is full color, black and white, and sepia as well. So if I've already gone ahead and rotated this photo and it's a black and white filter on it, if I want to drop another photo into it, let's grab a completely different photo here to see. Here's like a wedding picture. It's going to take on that attribute. So then we'll adjust, and then we can reposition that down. So as long as it's locked and you drop a new photo in, it'll take on those attributes.
Excellent. So that was that question, and I guess we're ready for whatever you've got for us next.
Okay, let's see what else we can do here. How about some embellishments now? Let's try adding some little pieces. Let's go to our art collections, and we had found this great 365 Days with You collection earlier. So if I remember it, I can go down to it in the art collections. But if you can't remember what the collection name was, you can click on any paper or embellishment or frame. These were all from the same collection. So if you click on something from that same collection, hit right-click on it. Let's see. Right-click, it'll bring up this menu here, and you can say Open Collection. And that actually opens, sometimes, the right collection. Let's try a different one. Let's right-click, open collection. And sometimes, I don't know, I think it might be a conflict with the GoToMeeting sometimes. Let's see, open collection. Nope, that one didn't work this time either. It oftentimes
it's like a talking frog where it won't talk if anyone's watching.
Right.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be temperamental, right? But sometimes I feel like it
does
might
sometimes. I know. So, but if you right-click, you will, in most cases, be able to open the collection that it's from. Well, tonight it is not working, so it's like that noise in your car that you hear. You can't prove it's making that noise. So
Exactly.
Let's go back. So we're going to go ahead and open the art collection. And sometimes, I've been known to jot down a note or two on the little size sheet of paper so I know where to go back to. Let's just pull up some fun little embellishments here. Let's see what's available. Let's see what else there is. Papers. I'm not seeing what else. Maybe a little blue ribbon. And then I know I'm going to want something to journal on. I don't necessarily like journaling on big pattern paper, so let's just look for a tag. Let's see what I can find for tags. And I'm going to pull this open a little bit bigger. So here, if I scroll across, it's just showing me 50 of 2,244 embellishments to choose from for tags. If I want to see more, I just click on the See More. And this is basically telling you that there's more than 1,200 items. So be more specific if you'd like to search it for less than it. It's only going to show you 1,200 at a time. So I actually like this tag here, so I'm going to go ahead and drag that up. And I like to put drop shadows on right away so I can easily see everything. And then let's mix in another collection. I want to find some word art that has the word smile in it, because being at the park with my daughter makes me smile, so let's see what's available. Oh, I like this Remember to Smile collection. Let's scroll down and see what else there is. Let's see here. Oh, here, this is cute. I'm going to drag this up. Okay, like that. I'm actually going to click on that one and open that collection so I get every selection that's available. I'm just dragging on a whole bunch of pieces that might look fun. I can always delete them later, but I want to know what my options are for playing. So let's just a whole bunch of different things. Let's see here. Oh, good. You make me smile. So that'll make a nice headline there. So let's go back out. Let's see. I'm just going to grab these things here. I'm going to pull them off to the side a little bit more. Let's say you make me smile. And this is behind, so I want this in front. I'm going to go down to my toolbox again and click on Bring to Front. And I'm going to scale that up a little bit bigger. So to make things look realistic with the drop shadows, you also want to layer elements a little bit. It's great to have things looking like they're overlapping a little bit. And then we'll add a drop shadow on there as well. Let's pull this down here. Just move these out of the way. I'm going to put a big journaling tag up here in the corner. And embellishments work the same way as papers and photos. Just click on any corner and just scale them bigger or smaller. And you've got the same handle tool as well, so you can rotate if you'd like. So I'm just going to keep that straight. If you're not sure if you're straight, if you've moved it around, go back over here to your layout. And you'll see I'm 1 degree off right here. So you can just highlight that, type in 0, and it makes it perfectly square again. So let's just bring this ribbon up. Oh, the ribbon's behind. Bring it back to the front. I like it to look like it's realistic, like something would be holding on the tag on a paper. Let's, what else should we do? Add a drop shadow. How about we put some journaling here? How do we work with text? Let's go down here. We've worked with our art collections. We've worked with my project pieces, my photos. There's also a text boxes menu down here. You've got 3 options, title, body, and caption. Basically, they're all the same. It doesn't really matter which one you use. They're slightly different. They're all in a Garamond typeface, but most likely you're going to want to change it up and not use Garamond anyway. So let's go ahead and you can click on the toolbox. Same corner technique, and you're just going to pull the corners just to open up your text box a little bit more. And let's say I want that to look like a little typewriter effect. So if we go to Tools, this is where you get your font selection and sizing. So here's all the different fonts that we offer. If you toggle over the fonts, it'll show you what it looks like. So you've got a little sampling of what it is. We've got two different typewriter fonts. We've got Bohemian typewriter and regular typewriter. You can change the size here. If you know the point size, you can go ahead and type it in. You can up arrow here or down arrow or slider bar. So lots of different ways that you can do that as well. Centered, flush left, flush right. Choose which one you like. You'll also have options for line spacing. As you can see, the line spacing is the space between the lines is growing bigger. You can do letter spacing, which makes it closer, the letters closer or wider. So lots of great options with that. I want to go ahead and use a quote from our quote library. So in order to drag a quote up into this section, I'm going to go ahead and lock it. The trick to dropping and swapping, drop to swap, is to lock your element first. So I've opened up the quotes tab. I'm going to scroll down here to, let's say, family, let's do parents. Let's see what I can find. Lots of great quotes in here. So I like this one. A mother holds her child's hand for a short while, but their heart's forever. So all you're going to do is you're going to click it just like you would a photo or paper. You're going to drag it up, and you're going to drop the text to swap. And it's just replaced it just like it would a photo or embellishment. And as you can see, it's too big. So we're going to go back to our toolbox, and we are going to reduce the point size so that it all fits in there nicely. So just like that. You also have the option of coloring text, which is this box right here. Just like we colored the paper earlier, you can do the same thing with embellishments, text, photos. You can go here and drag again from the color palette, or, which is even better, you can go out here into your actual project and grab something that looks nice with it. Let's see if there's a dark blue, maybe a dark teal blue like that. So great. So there you've got your page working. So once again, you just grab any embellishment. So here, here's an embellishment where it's starting to turn orange, yellow. I want to make sure I use this in small doses and a smaller size, so I go ahead and bring that back down to the green. So I only want to use this little daisy flower with a green border on it and bring that to the front. And then it's fun. You can layer papers, or instead of using papers, what if you used frames instead? We can do things. I put a drop shadow on this so we can see it. I've rotated this little stamp tool around. I'm dragging the corner and making it larger. So think outside the box. You don't just have to layer with papers. You can layer with fun frames if you want to. So I put that all the way to the back, and I'm just bringing it one layer at a time forward. So we can do that. There's this fun little kind of transparent thing. I'm going to send this back. I'm just clicking a whole bunch. It's just sending it behind things just to give more texture. See here it's showing up behind the photo, so you want to make sure that you're still tucking it behind, which just keep clicking until it disappears behind. You can add fun string. Make sure you put a little drop shadow so it pops it out. Let's type in, let's look for, let's do a blue button. Blue button. And you're going to have lots of options. So it's just fun. You just drag up an option for a button there. Let's go ahead and add a drop shadow. Just kind of move it here. I can do a copy and a paste. It'll give a duplicate button and drag it over there. So it's just a matter of playing and getting it into the position that you want with lots of different fun layers and adding texture to it. There's lots of great things like tape and staples to make it look more like traditional scrapbooking. It's fun. I mean, it's just endless possibilities with all of our art that we have available, and you're only limited by your imagination, basically.
That's really true. Oh, that's an awesome page, and you've given us some really great and fun tips, and boy, that was a great class. I unfortunately need to draw it to a close because there are a few little things we want to mention before we end. Well, one, I want to give away some more points, and I pulled out the name of Ellen Wolfson. Wolfschorndl. You know who you are. You have a difficult last name, difficult but beautiful. So Ellen Wolfschorndl. We will get points into your account and sure appreciate you coming. We'll get you some 20 publishing points. Thanks for all of you coming. Now, you all seem like a really bright and feisty group, and we are thinking, or I'm thinking, that you're the type of people that might like to rise to a challenge if a challenge is put to you. And as nice as Roxanne is, do you know that she will challenge you? In fact, she challenges you every month on our Heritage Makers Facebook page. She challenges your design skills, and she puts up a fun new challenge each month with some rules or some parameters or a theme, because we love to see what you do. We love to see what you figure out and your own little stories and pictures and things. So get on our Facebook page and join that challenge. Not only do you get to show off what you do, and we love to see it, but you also get the chance to win some really nice publishing points to help keep you publishing. So right now in April, what have we got, Roxanne, that you've got going?
Yeah, we've got a Mother's Day challenge. This is using an existing template like we did in part 1 and just exchanging my photos and elements for your photos and elements. You use the same template to come up with your own style and your own photos. And we've got some entries down here too, so you can see how people are using the template to kind of do their own design. So there's a great one with a winter theme, but it uses the exact same placement of elements and photo placement. So it's an easy, drop to swap kind of project.
Great, and it's a great way to practice and a fun way to share. So do get involved there. We'd love to have you. And we had an ending question, which is perfect. Thank you for asking this question, because it's a great segue into one of our announcements. Someone is asking about whether or not we have pre-designed pages or kind of page map type pages that can be used to start with. And the answer is yes. And what else, Roxanne?
Yes, so you can go back to our template gallery. So our template gallery gives you can search for any template project you want. You can type in father or mother or anything that you want, but if you want to do pre-designed maybe grayscale pages, you can type in grayscale or gray, and it'll show you lots of different grayscale maps that you can work from. And this is kind of the drop to swap process. So you're just going to, the pages are pre-designed for you, and you're just going to drag up your papers and your photos just like we were doing from scratch. And the other new thing that we've added, I'm going to clear out my template gallery search now. If you type in Helen Watts, or just Helen, will probably work. We've got all these new great drop to swap single image type designs, which if you are maybe a former Creative Memories person or someone who's done traditional pages but have scanned those now and uploaded to Heritage Makers, these are already pre-set up templates with the page already preset, so it allows for the bleeds and everything's just right, and you can just open these up and drop to swap in your new design.
Perfect, and those are so fun, and I know that people are enjoying those already, but if you might feel like you need a little help with knowing how to use our design maps and our drop to swap templates, then you need to join us. It'll be a few weeks. It'll be, let's see, what is it, May 22nd?
Yes.
Yes, Thursday, May 22nd, we're going to have a Studio 101 class, and it's going to be all about using those grayscale, drop to swap, page map type templates, because ultimately they're not different from the templates that have the artwork and the photos, but sometimes it's just a lot simpler for people to visualize. Well, they feel like more of a blank canvas, even though you're dropping stuff into swaps. So they're fun to use, and I know Roxanne's going to show us all about using them from just the single image templates all the way up to those templates with multiple pieces. And prior to that, we have another class on May 8th. What's that class going to be, Roxanne?
That's going to be our Father's Day fun class, and this is with Studio U, which is a little bit more of an advanced class. But if you're a beginner, don't let that stop you from coming. We show lots of tips and tricks along the way, and the more you work in Studio, the more all the pieces will start coming together. So you will pick up, great information from that as well.
Exactly. Well, that'll be great. And so we look forward to having you on those classes. And again, I think all three of us want to thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you helping us do this class over so we could get it recorded and posted and something that we can share with all those who are interested. And thanks for your questions and participation, and we hope to see you next time.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Good night.